To further elaborate on the theme of the Lagos 7th Economic Summit, Ehingbeti 2014, public and private sector players engaged the media discussing the strategies of the Lagos state government through the power sector reforms. Present at this press parley was the former president of Georgia, Mr. Mikheil Shaakashvili, and the chief host of the occasion, the Lagos state governor, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, as well as the Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Mr. Ben Akabueze. It was an opportunity for them to entertain questions and also respond to the various issues raised on the power sector reforms.
Power is the critical enabler, really. And in a world that is automating on a daily basis, if you understand that perhaps during the days before the Industrial Revolution, where things became mechanized, it took about 3 months to make a door hinge. And with automation, industrialization, making a door hinge becomes a production cycle of a few minutes. You can imagine the economies of scale and the efficiencies that are possible with efficient, reliable, and predictable electricity. We have demonstrated from our result of the implementation of our areas of restrictive intervention as a state government, which is limited to embedded generation and public street lighting, that the cascading benefit of our very restricted intervention is truly defining. From women who no longer stand a risk of losing their babies during childbirth simply because power fails, from much more efficient access to justice, time spent in dispensing justice, fewer adjournments that are power determined only. Now, if there are adjournments in our high courts today, it's not because power failed. And that can mean a lot to litigants who can tell you the story. As a practitioner in those courts, I know how many nights, how many days we've prepared for cases only to get to court and matters had to be adjourned. All the costs and all the preparation thrown away. Public street lighting in bus stops and local areas, several hundred streets across Lagos. People who used to close shop at 6 p.m. frying akara, frying yam and dodo and plantain now tell us that the sales and the total income that gets onto the family table has increased by margins of 30 to 50% simply because they could trade beyond 7 p.m. well into the night.
There are two things that attract investors. First, simple procedures, and second, good infrastructure. Now, we heard a lot about improvements of infrastructure. That's basically, now you are on the right way, certainly. And I'm sure that there will be political will to further simplify, make things, because we are talking about, you are talking about it's market for investors. However, I think what it should be, the 20 millions or even less or more, it should be also hub, which is to say that people from here will operate, are already operating, and will operate even much more towards the other areas. And for that, you need further to move in this direction of simplification. Most of the regulations that are in place are really not necessary. If you take a closer look, there is always somebody telling you, oh, without that, it will be a disaster, without that you are going to hell. And usually just vested in terms of a concrete person, individual, or group of people, but not really of the society. And that's what you need to distinguish.
We're here to support what's already on ground. We think that this privatization effort is tremendous and that we want to help to be catalytic and to fill in wherever there are gaps in terms of technical experience, technology, expertise. So we're here to help with that. So even in terms of, as the discos roll out, the newly privatized discos, that if there are financing gaps in terms of them being able to expand and modernize, we think it's really important that they as investors and other as investors have access to the kind of financing that they're going to need to really make this privatization effort successful. We're here to support that, and it's really critical that the power sector be fully up and running so that economic development can really take off, not only here in Lagos, but in all of Nigeria.
Power demand here is in the region of 10,000 megawatts and more at a snapshot, and an economy that is giving 25% to the GDP with 1,000 and below megawatts just shows what you can unleash really if you ramp up power supply. At this moment, as I said during my address, the electricity sector has been liberalized. It is now for municipal and state governments like us to engage useful, sensible, and mutually rewarding partnerships with the operators and the owners of the electricity assets. And as I said, some of the things we've done already is to lead by investing in distribution equipment manufacturing like transformers, so that when power is eventually produced, we will not have stopgaps of waiting for transformers to arrive from Europe. The transformers are already here, so they will aid efficient distribution. We have already conducted power audits, for example, so we are able to match consumer areas with the power assets that exist there, their exact locations, saving time therefore for the owners of these assets for investigation and detailed power asset audit that they would have done. As a government, we have done that ahead. We have shared that information with them.
So what is important that liberalization is very important, because I've seen many countries saying, oh, you know, we should really stick to sector, we should really regulate tariffs, we should do that. There are other ways to give incentives to keep tariffs low, but not just direct government control. There is this golden middle that you find. We have a regulatory commission that has some leverages to somehow induce people to keep tariffs lower or to regulate it, but in an indirect way. Direct regulation, direct decreeing, and direct control of the sector always brings the sector into total deadlock. That's what our experience. So you just open up the tabs.
So power really is a defining enabler for unleashing the potentials of not only the Lagos economy, but the Nigerian economy.